So I just want to be clear, I want the PSVR 2 to succeed. That's why I'm making this video. I was a PSVR 1 guy. I loved that Sony, their attempts in VR was to focus on it being an affordable headset, and then they just went hard on the games. Like, they really created a huge library for the VR 1. Blood and Truth is the closest you'll get to being an action hero in any video game. Firewall Zero Hour is one of the best multiplayer experiences of last gen, easily. And Astrobot is, again, one of the best platformers of, in modern day gaming. And so those are pretty big statements, but it's crazy how very few people have actually played any of those games because the VR1 had such a small market. And that's something I really want to see change. Obviously, the Meta Quest 2 has done a great job at doing what it's doing, being semi-affordable, being mobile. And with VR2, it seems like Sony is definitely trying to go the long game route. They're trying to go the high res route. They've really gone for the specs that have a long lifetime. Like, the VR2 will probably still be quite impressive a few years from now. And I really hope that it is, and I hope it's a successful system. But I just can't help but feel like there's a little bit of that Vita energy with this release. It's high end, just like the Vita was. It's got a high price, just like the Vita had at launch. It's also trying to crack a fairly niche market. When the Vita was released, it was trying to reinvigorate the somewhat dying portable market, which only really one company seemed to had captured, and that is, and still is to this day, Nintendo. And the VR2 is a technical marvel, just like the Vita was when it was released. So where am I going with this video? Is it the price point that, it's actually more than the actual console itself? Is it the fact that they amass this huge game library with VR1 and there's no backwards compatibility? Is it the fact that it's still tethered? When the Quest 2, for example, which is the most successful VR unit at the moment, and that's a portable one, an untethered one. Is it that? Well, it's kind of all of those, but there was one thing in particular that I think could have saved it, and I was hoping it would have saved it. And that is this thing right here, the USB-C. So you're probably thinking, oh, okay, so he's just going to mention about how it's tethered. Well, actually, not really. See, I don't mind that you're still tethered with the VR2. I think it's actually great because that way you'll get a level of definition and resolution that's only currently possible by being connected to a powerful unit such as the PlayStation 5. And I think that the gaming sector of VR can really capitalize on that. So my point is with the USB-C is that with a USB-C, it's a lot easier to connect it and hook it up to a PC. You see, despite the original VR1 not being PC compatible, there were actually some people, some modders in the PC scene that managed to get it working on a PC, which is insane considering the absolute chaos of the cables that were coming out of that thing and then the breakout box. Somehow people managed to get it to work on the PC. Now, Sony might not want you to do this, but it's very likely that the VR2 having this time a much more universal connection like the USB-C, that it will be usable on the PC regardless of Sony's intentions. And this is something I was really hoping Sony would capitalize on, because the unit might be expensive and might seem expensive to most people, but in comparison to other VR units in the PC space with those specs, that's bargain of the decade right there. The closest competitor would be the Quest Pro. That thing costs over £1,000 more than the VR2 at launch. So just let that settle in. If you're a PC gamer and you want to get invested into VR, you could literally save yourself £1,000 by getting the VR2. Yeah, it's that simple. And the VR2, I believe, is actually still even better technically than what the Quest Pro has to offer. And that, in my opinion, is what I believe the VR2 really needs to succeed. If it was PC compatible, it would absolutely gain a foothold of the still very niche market of VR gaming. The infrastructure has already been put in place by Sony. You've got PlayStation games now on Steam. You've got the rumors of PlayStation launching their own PC game launcher. So you'd think it would be a great way to go, especially considering the vast library that exists in the PC VR space, where pretty much any VR game, with the exception of maybe a few exclusive PSVR 1 games, is on the PC, on Steam. And it would just sell so many units, in my opinion. So I really hope this is something they sort out. They get the drivers, official drivers out there, so you can use the VR2 directly with your PC and just hook it up, play it on Steam, and there you go. It would expand the user base, which is really needed for this to be successful. And it would open up the price, because all of a sudden you have a really expensive accessory for console going from that to the cheapest, most powerful VR unit you can get for PC, which you can also use on your PS5. And in turn, it could even sell some consoles to PC users who are like, oh, actually, maybe I would like to try it on a console as well. You know, maybe I'd like to have 2 units I could use it with. So yeah, with all the other stuff I mentioned, you know, backwards compatible can be solved by free or paid upgrades. We've already seen this with games like Tetris Effect and Res Infinite. The price in general can go down over time, but making it PC compatible will really sell it and give the much needed user base its niche market needs. It's not too late. Let's make this happen. We don't need another Vita. Where, you know, you can see the early warning signs that it's gonna fail. Yeah, so hopefully it doesn't go down that way. Hopefully this is something that gets sorted sooner rather than later. And then people would, you know, wouldn't have to ask anymore, is Alex coming to PS5? Because you could just hook it up to your PC and play Alex on Steam. And yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. Jim Ryan, if you're watching this, do the right thing. I know it's not down to you, probably, but still. I feel like you get blamed for everything, so be rude of me not to. And this is probably one of the few videos I make that doesn't have a green screen in it. But I might do some more of these like PlayStation reaction videos or just general gaming reaction videos like this, because they're quicker to do. And yeah, I'll see how it goes. Till next time, stay happy.